I hope that the start of your year has been really beautiful. But I also know that as we deepen into the month of January, that things begin to shift and change. Different parts of ourselves start to arise, and we might find ourselves questioning our intentions or our resolutions, or even going back on some of those early promises we might have made. And it's important to know that this is really part of the process for all of us. And so, in thinking about that, I wanted to start this year by talking about the different parts of ourselves that arise. There's a story that I recently heard from the teacher Beth Sternlieb. There's a woman who has now been a meditator for many, many years. But before she got onto the path of practice, she had spent the majority of her life as an addict. She ended up marrying someone who was an addict, and together they had a little girl. One evening they were driving in the car, and as her partner was driving, he was wildly speeding. And it dawned on this woman as the little girl sat in the back seat that she loved this little girl more than anything in the entire world. And that if she didn't do something to change her life, this little girl was going to be taken away from her. So that evening when she was home, her husband went out looking for more drugs, and 2:00 in the morning rolled around. She was panic-stricken, full of anxiety, finally feeling this call of desperation that something needed to change. And she remembered that many years ago, her mother had given her the telephone number for a counselor. So even though it was the middle of the night, she picked up the phone and she dialed this number. And as the person answered the phone, she could hear rustling around, clearly having woken this person up. And as he answered the phone, she simply closed her eyes and said, "I need help." And she began sharing her story. And he listened and he listened, and she noticed that the light of the day was starting to rise, that it was now morning. And she said, "I know that you're a Christian counselor, so whatever you need me to do, I will do. I will pray, I will go to confession." And he said, "Hold on a second. Please don't hang up the phone. You dialed the wrong number." And it wasn't the counselor that she had intended to call at all, but this man had spent the entire night deeply listening to her. Her life didn't change in that moment, but it was the beginning of the path of healing for her as she realized that there was love out there in the world for her, that there were loving people, and the potential of that love gave her the energy and the inspiration to start to make a change. So when we sit and we do our practice, whether that's yoga or meditation or this type of inquiry, we are able to sit with all of these different parts of ourselves. We sit with our own pain and our joy. We sit with our sorrow and our happiness. We sit with our losses and our successes. We sit with our limiting beliefs and our renewed confidence. And as we learn to navigate that through our practice internally first, we're able to then sit with others and help them at least be a space for witnessing whatever it is that a friend or a community member needs to navigate on their own. We can sit with each other's pain. It's really important for us to know that there are all of these different parts of ourselves that come up, and this addict inside of this woman probably came from a place very young inside of her that really wanted to protect her, that in some way her addiction was protecting her. And so today I'd like to take a couple of moments for us just to sit together and do a little bit of this inquiry. So if you're not already in a place that's comfortable for you to sit, maybe you're driving your car, you're at the gym, or you're watching this at work, see if you can find a little bit of time, set it aside, whether you pause this now and come back to it, or if you're in a place now where you can, just be casual with yourself. Close your eyes. Rest your feet on the floor, cross your legs if that's best. And as you take your attention inside, Begin just by feeling into the parts of the body that are connected to either the chair or the floor on which you sit. And from that place, you might just notice the body beginning to soften in response to being attended to in this very simple way. And softening any places of holding, the corners of the eyes, the hinge of the jaw, the shoulders, and maybe down into the low back and the hips, allowing yourself to sit in a way that is attentive but also easeful. And then let your attention move to the space of your heart. And asking, free of any judgment or any criticism, what is here for you in your heart today? How is your heart? You might simply feel what you're present to, or maybe you even internally and silently name it, a particular feeling state or emotion. And asking, what part of yourself is here today? Maybe the fidgety one or the restless one. Maybe the sleepy one or the vulnerable one. And take several moments just to ask, which part of yourself or parts of yourself are you present to today? And if this is newer work for you, it might take a little while. So just know that there's no hurry and no rush. Just continue asking, what is this part of myself that I'm aware of that might be here today? And you might even notice how old this part of yourself is. This might be a part of yourself that's been with you from the time that you were teeny tiny, from the time that you were a small child. Or a part of you that came forward in adolescence or young adulthood. How old is this part of yourself? And as you sit with this part of yourself, it's not to push it away. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. This is just a part of who you are, a part of your inherent wholeness. And to turn to this part of yourself and to ask, what does this part of yourself most need today? Does it simply need to be seen and witnessed? Does this part of yourself need some soothing, whether that's through kind and supportive words, or maybe imagining that you could embrace this part of yourself? And just take these next couple of moments to really attend to this part of yourself. As you care for this part of yourself, you might notice a little bit of spaciousness around it, maybe even some softening. And to look at this part of yourself as if you could see yourself with your own eyes, and to take a moment to thank this part of yourself. To know that, like the woman in the story, that somehow probably this part of ourself has been there protecting us along the way. And we can thank this part of ourselves for trying to protect us. And now that we've attended to this part of ourselves, maybe they can feel safe enough to step to the side, to notice that this protection in this moment is not needed, and that we haven't abandoned this part of ourself. We've included it in the whole of our experience. And so from here, allowing the breath to deepen and reopening the eyes as you're ready. And my hope is that as you enter into this year, whatever this year has in store, whatever goals you've set, whatever resolutions and intentions, that you can attend to really kindly and compassionately all of the parts of yourself that will surface. There will be goals that we meet and we surpass, and there will be ones that potentially we don't fulfill, maybe we even fail at. Maybe we even decide that they're not really goals that we want to pursue after all, and we let them go. And whatever the journey has in store for you, just to know that every part of you belongs, that every part of you is worthy, and every part of you is deserving of your kindness and your attention. I'm looking forward to sharing this year with you. There are so many great things in store. Let's stay connected. My intention is to share with you monthly in this way, whether it's through writing or video or a practice. Thank you so much. Wishing you a beautiful start to the year, and I will see you again in February.